welcome back to the Shuffle Squad. Zach Lesage here. Today we're going to be covering over a post-rotation tier list for our upcoming Journey Together formats. We're experiencing our rotation in April, so that means that if you're going to Atlanta, Monterey, any of those events after April, or just even local events, our metagame is going to rotate to Scarlet and Violet on. So it's going to really shake things up. I've been studying and playing around with the Japanese metagame, and I've taken a lot of these decks from City Leagues, decks from my own tabletop testing, and I've updated the icons as well. Had a lot of constructive criticism when it comes down to having the half and half cards. Does that make the most sense? I think this makes it where the archetype is big enough, and then I have the little circle of what the auxiliary card or the complementary card is for that deck. So I'd love some feedback on that. We'll see exactly if we need to update it a little bit more, but for right now, I think it works for this video. If all that sounds great, we're just going to be kind of going through the decks and ranking them as much as I possibly can. I think it's in like a rough alphabetical order. And I mean, I can't say that I've played all 40 or so of these decks, but I've played a handful enough. Some of them are surviving from the pre-rotation format to the post-rotation format. And I'm going with the S123. Roast me if I'm wrong. Hype me up if I'm right. Would definitely love to have some feedback or some kind of discussion going on in the comment section. So if that sounds great to you, give this video a like, share with your friends, subscribe to the channel. Let's get to 50K subscribers. And of course, let me know in the comments what you think of this tier list. Which decks did I get right? Which decks did I get wrong? Which decks are missing from this list? Or you could just be like, yo, Zach, what's up? Because it all helps boost the YouTube algorithm. And yeah, let's kind of start things off. It's one of those things where we're going to start off with our Charizard double. And you can see there's the little double in the corner there. I think our Charizard double, to me, it's not S tier. I think S tier I'm reserving for the absolute best decks in format, maybe decks that did very well in the Champions League, decks that I foresee having a good run. Our Charizard double is probably not the next deck up after that, so I'm going to put it at 2. I think to start things off, to me, that makes the most sense when it comes down to it. Like, I think it might, yeah, I think 2 is probably fair. Our Charizard in this format, it's probably, like in previous format, it's probably close to 1. But with the double, I think it's like at number 2. Nothing absolutely wild. Because when we think about the best deck in format, let's just say we put it as the Terra box deck. That deck might just end up having a Pikachu or something like that. That just takes out our Charizard. The Dunsparce, I think that our Charizard with the Dunsparce is probably going to be like, it's hard because I want to put it like higher, but like the way that we're doing this list, I think it's going to be 3. I just don't think it's the way to be playing this deck. If anything, I like the idea of going boss plus disruption when it comes, or like gust plus disruption with double. The Dunsparce is just drawing a bunch of cards. So I think like the Dunsparce decks in general are a cool idea, but maybe I'm just going to be ranking them a little bit lower this week because I'm a big meanie. That's how it goes. We got our Charizard Scizor. I'm going to put Scizor in 2 because I think it is a viable attacker, but it doesn't necessarily like matter too much. Blissey with Monkey Dory. I think that the Blissey decks that we're seeing some success in Japan, I'm a little bit worried about it because I think it gets absolutely destroyed by Pikachu EX. And like, I don't want to be like, hey, everything gets destroyed by Pikachu EX. But if Pikachu could do 300 damage, knock out your Pokemon, and there's not really a great way to knock it back out, I'm going to put it at 2. Like, sure, there's Monkey Dory. Sure, that might help you get past it. But I just think it's number 2 for right now. Ceruledge, when I think about the format, I think about that there's a handful of different decks that are like, all right. I'm going to probably put it at number 3. It doesn't seem like it's like that exciting right now. I'm also just going to move these around so it's not just so Archaladon centered. We're going to go with Conkeldurr up next. I think Conkeldurr probably falls into the same trap that we had in our current format. Now, like, on one hand, it's kind of like new cloth. when we look at it, does it get through a lot of things? I'm a little bit worried that the deck struggles to like Badoo more than I want it to. It's so close to being 2, but we're gonna go 3. Maybe for these early videos I need to like separate them a little bit more, because like it's like hard to place them. Let's go with Dragapult's Blood Moon. This is the deck that like we saw towards the end of our standard format before the rotation. I think this deck is probably just like 1. It hasn't seen enough play in Japan, but I think when we get Journey Together globally, we're probably going to see a little bit more of this, because this deck hasn't really seen too much success in Japan, and now it's starting to see success. Let's go with Charizard to Dunsparce. I think Charizard to Dunsparce probably just straight up 3. I played it. I helped the group kind of play some of the early builds or pioneer it with them. I mean, I think that Charizard to Dunsparce just doesn't hold on as well as I want it to. Maybe it does. Maybe it's better than I think it is, but like right now it's all right. Charizard with the Noctowl package does seem like it's probably going to be in the 1 tier. It's doing quite well in Japan, and I think like it's the deck's time to shine, where we have a big attacker that doesn't get knocked out by Pikachu, that has answers maybe to some of the decks in the metagame. That's kind of cool. Charizard Pidgeot, I think, probably ends up becoming... Oh, it feels so bad to put this deck at 3, but like a lot of the times I'm just like, what is it even accomplishing? I think maybe it could become 2. I think I like the Pidgeot version more than the Dunsparce, and these are things that can change, everyone. I think it's one of those things where like we're so far out on the metagame that it's just like things can definitely adjust themselves, and I'm just moving these around for no reason other than to have like things adjusted so they're not like as everywhere as they are. Like I don't want to be like Archaladon. So no rank, no order. We'll be covering a top 10 best decks video for this. Dragapult Charizard, I think this deck kind of a lot of our decks are bigger, so I think this deck's going to be 2. Like when I say bigger, like bigger HP, not really so much else that's cooking. Dragapult Dusknoir I think is going to be probably our first S tier deck, and even though it's not seeing the success that we want to see it have success in Japan, I think that it's getting countered a lot by the Milotics, and I think that Dragapult Dusknoir, largely I think our format revolves around Dragapult Dusknoir. It might just not necessarily have its moment right now. The same way that we saw pre-EUIC Goldango did nothing, then Goldango popped off. Like I think Dragapult's waiting for that moment to pop off. Dragapult Xatu was another build that I saw. I can't say that I think this is my favorite build, so I'm probably gonna put it at 3 right now. I think it's like a minorly acceptable version of what we currently have, but might not be as good. Then there's the Flareon Eevee box. I'm gonna default put this at 2. I think like I tested it. I don't think it's as good as I want it to be. Maybe I just need to find that right list, but it feels like worse stage 1 Terra box. Feraligatr is probably going to be a 1 tier deck. I know it won the Champions League. I think it's a really cool control based deck, but right now I don't see the 100% hype behind it because the list feels so inconsistent. It's one of those decks where when it works, it's absolutely so good, but right now it's not overly where I want it to be. The other thing that I want to point out now that we're kind of partway through the video, if you're looking to get any of the cards for these decks and you're like, hey, post rotation's coming up, or maybe I'm getting into Pokemon, or I don't have those Flareons for that deck because I know I didn't. I got all my cards from Kayfabe Cards. So does most of the rest of the Shuffle Squad. So check out their website in the description below. They can help you get out all your cards that you need for post rotation, and they ship pretty much anywhere as far as I know. They've then official Pokemon TCG regionals. They're just an otherwise great store, so check out their link. If you're trying to get ready for PTCG Live when this set drops, we are going to be having access to Journey Together pretty soon. So check out ptcgostore.com and get some code cards. You can craft whatever you like. Gardevoir is going to be the next up deck. I think Gardevoir is going to end up being in 1 tier. It seems pretty good across the board in terms of it having success into a lot of these different matchups. So I think like Gardevoir is cool. Another thing that I should just note as we look into these things like Frostlass and some of these other decks that have some sniping capabilities, there's no more Manaphy in this format. There's nothing that's blocking these. So I think it's one of those things where we might see some more spread type archetypes come out there. And that leads us into Frostlass. I think Frostlass just ends up becoming a tier 2 deck, not tier 3. So it's kind of moving on up in the world. It seems Ites. Goldango Dragapult is really one of those decks that's like surprising me a little bit. I think right now I got to put it in 1 tier based off its success in Japan, but otherwise I'm just not like overly feeling it. We have Goldango Dunsparce, probably like tier 2. It's like Ites, Dragapult, Scizor, probably same category. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that there so they're not. It's like the carrots and peas on my plate. I can't have it touch the chicken nuggies. Milotic Wallstall, this deck's popping off. I gotta put that one in S. It's absolutely doing the most. We have I don't know, Milotic, it's like if you know how Milotics pick them up now, they're only going to go up. Same thing with Noctowls. Even if you're going for the promo Noctowl, kind of the one that I think we have featured in the Terra box, kind of icon, that's one of those things. I just picked them up now. Turbo Roaring Moon, not really where it's at right now. Seems like a little bit like maybe it's a 2.5 and not a dead like outright 3. It's interestingly placed. Future Box, I think it's probably just going to be 3, just not really holding its own, not really having those matchups that I want. Maybe I need to like rethink some of these decks, but as I'm looking through it, it's just like it's probably not 2, definitely not S or 1. Well, the only other place to put it is 3. I guess that leads me to have some pretty cool hot takes. Great Tusk, I could see Mill low-key being hot against some of these decks, but it's probably just going to get quickly like gobbled up by decks that have like Wellspring Pond. So I'm going to put it at 3 right now. Maybe it could move up a little bit. Greninja, I've seen Greninja with Xatu, Greninja with Dusknoir. Xatu makes the most sense because we lose double turbo. I still think it's 3, so it doesn't really change too much. Hopzation, probably just a solid 2. Nothing crazy when it comes to that archetype, not really holding its own. Hydrapple Teal Mask, like I like having the extra the big HP, the big grass attack. I think you're gonna lose to some kind of wall deck or a deck like Dragapult or like any other deck in the format. So I'm gonna put it at 3. It's just like one of these decks that could exist, could do well at a League Cup, a League Challenge, probably not going all the distance. Mamoswine, probably gonna put in the same category. Like having a bunch of stage 2 Pokemon on your bench seems kind of cool until it does not seem kind of cool. And Zoroark, I think that Darmanitan seems really cool, but not really holding its own in this format. I've played it. It doesn't seem as good as what I want it to be. Maybe it will move up to like tier 1, but I don't necessarily feel that. Palafin, probably gonna put it at 3. Doesn't really hold its own, hasn't really held its own. It's like all right, and I think it's like a definition of one of these attackers that's just like it's better than other Pokemon cards in general, but when it comes to like putting it against other like the best decks in format or the power creep, like Palafin's the type of deck that in an isolated metagame could be good. I wouldn't say like have the deck built on you, but also having it built wouldn't be a negative thing either. Like it's like acceptable. So if you're looking for a rogue deck that can kind of compete, Palafin would be that choice. Raging Bolt with Iono, Belly Bolts. I think that Raging Bolt, Iono's Belly Bolts, probably like a 2. Not really holding its own. Maybe you want to what? I'm gonna put it at 3. I played this deck. I think it doesn't add anything to the metagame. I think the Noctowl version's hot, and it's gonna be 1. The Belly Bolt just doesn't feel as good as I want it to be. Slowking, gonna take the same treatment. I think Slowking with Xatu is a really fun deck. I think it's one of those ones that I'd love to bring out at a league challenge later on the season and kind of have like a fun day. I don't think that the deck has the whole competitive package, and we saw early in Japan how people were playing it. Now it's not being played at all. Terra Box is going to be another one of our S tier decks, so I think this really starts like kind of crafting the decks that we're going to start seeing a lot of success with. For me, I really think that these are that's really where I'm at with where it comes to the metagame. Is the top three are Dragapult, Dusknoir, Milotic, and Terra Box. Everything else below that is just not necessarily as strong as we want it to be. Iron Hands probably is okay. I think like Turbo Hands, there's enough decks where you might be okay against, might be all right against some things. Not overly the best deck. Wallstall, probably not as good as Milotic Wallstall, but could hold its own. Hydreigon is unfortunately, like, I think it's like one of those decks where it could be okay, but I'm really worried about just like getting demolished by an early Wellspring Pawn, which could happen in a lot of decks. And then we have Terrapagos with Bouffalant and Noctowl. I think it's just like not necessarily the deck that it once was. I just want to double check to see if there's any other decks that I might move up. Maybe I think if there was, no, you want to know what? I think I'm pretty close to how this should look. I wouldn't mind having another like other one. Like as I'm looking into the top 10 decks, like the top 9 decks make a lot of sense. I just don't know what to put down as deck number 10. And that's really where I'm at. Like, how does this format truly change? Well, we're gonna have to find out. I'm gonna put up my top 10 best decks video on tomorrow, Friday. I do them every single Friday, or at least Friday my time. And I'm gonna go for post rotation this week with Journey Together. So as we kind of like look through everything, I hope that this helps everyone kind of start shaping up their opinions on some decks, that it starts allowing you to start building up a collection. And I'm gonna work on some content on both the Shuffle Squad's Metafy page and my own Metafy page. That's gonna be kind of like a quick little shot about every deck, articles, stuff like that, guides. So I hope that everyone enjoys that content coming up. And of course, with post rotation being around, I do offer Pokemon TCG coaching. So hit me up for some coaching at metafy.gg/@Saclasage. I'd totally love to help you on your journey. We can go on a journey together. No pun intended, kind of pun intended. And hit me up at least for a coaching consultation, and we could see if I'm the right fit for you. And if the vibe sounds good, then let's get some coaching done. If it doesn't, appreciate you for all of your time. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching this video. Stay tuned for more great content, and we'll catch up real soon. Peace out and have a great one. Want to support the Shuffle Squad? Be sure to check out all of our sponsors in the description to pick up Pokemon TCG singles, sealed, and PTCG live codes.
Tabi no hajimari wa tsune ni michi e no ippo de aru. Sore wa yami e to tsuzuku. 初めの一歩を踏み出すには勇気がいる。そして旅の終わりには旅を始めた時の自分とは別人になっているかもしれない。旅に出よう。物語の次の章がお主を待っている。将軍の道を歩め。侍の箱と共に。 アルティメットカードが送る冒険の第一章。刀将軍の道、近日発売。
Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed the content that we have today, and maybe you'll click on one of these other videos, enjoy those videos too. If you haven't already, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments what video you want to watch next. Until next time, we'll catch up with all y'all later. Have yourself a great day.